Today I'm going to talk about 10 of the most useful software and tools that I've found that can help you make a music video. I've been working on music videos and teaching people how to make music videos for the better part of a decade. So these are all things that I've come across in my own research that I thought were super useful. Some of them are going to be very niche, while some will be very general. So pick and choose what works best for you, and I'll try and give you a solid use case for every tool. If you enjoy, hit that sub button, consider leaving a like to help with the YouTube algorithm, and let's get started. Number one is Photoshop. You may be surprised at a photo editing software being useful for video creation, but in my opinion, I believe everyone starting out making video should learn photo editing first. You can create custom graphics and titles for your videos, which can later be animated in After Effects. You can make frame-by-frame animations, and if you do take the 3D route, you can use Photoshop to create or alter the textures for your 3D model. I got my start with Photoshop. If you learn the basics of how it works with concepts like layers and blending modes, you'll be surprised at how much of that knowledge translates over to video editing. Number two is Trello. And honestly, you don't have to use Trello specifically. I'm mainly talking about the importance of storyboarding, writing down notes, and communicating the vision clearly to yourself and your client. You can use any storyboarding site or even just the notepad on your computer if you want. I like using Trello because it's nice to keep track of your ideas, what you finished, what needs to be finished. Alternatively, for video treatments, you can use something like PowerPoint or Keynote. Just make sure you have an efficient workflow for the project as a whole so that you stay on the right track. Number three is After Effects. When I first started out, I always wondered if After Effects was even worth getting when I already had Adobe Premiere to edit. It 1000% is. Masking and compositing footage is much easier in After Effects than it is in a video editing program. You also have a wider range of unique effects and easier animation tools. You can rig up custom Photoshop layers with the Puppet tool and animate them. You can also gather 3D tracking data to paste and track 2D layers, or even branch out your workflow to other softwares like adding in 3D, for example. There's so much usefulness built into After Effects. I consider it my ultimate post-processing tool for video. Number four is Blender. There's one huge problem people face when they only know how to edit videos. They're limited to only using footage and 2D assets that they find for free or pay for online. With Blender, you can easily add in 3D assets, you can create 3D B-roll scenes, or you can 3D track and composite objects into your video all for free. There's a massive online community of tutorials that can help you find any type of style or look that you're going for, everything from realism to stylistic renders. For those of you who want to make a video but you don't have a camera or any footage to work with, making it yourself in 3D is a great option. Blender is a great Swiss Army tool of different useful features that can help you make whatever it is you want to make. Number five is AI, and specifically, I want to talk about 3 AI tools, first of which being Photoshop Generative AI, second being Midjourney, and third being Stable Diffusion. This past year has been a renaissance of new AI tools when it comes to video production. Every day I see a new workflow popping up that uses AI in conjunction with something like After Effects or Blender. With Photoshop Generative AI, you can expand your footage and even use these selection tools to change objects in your scene instantly with just a text prompt. With Midjourney, you can generate high quality assets and textures, which can be animated either in 2D with After Effects or in 3D as a 3D texture. On the flip side, Stable Diffusion requires more work to set up than the other two, but it gives you far more control over the image you're trying to generate, and it also has plugins and add-ons for different types of AI video generation. AI may not be that relevant today, but in the future, I believe it'll speed up our video workflows a ton, so don't sleep on learning it. Number six is plugins and presets. There are a ton of free and paid plugins and presets that you can add to your video editing software to help achieve a certain look or save some time. Personally, I've used a lot of things from aescripts.com. I've also used the Red Giant Universe suite for things like glow and film effects. There's also the Sapphire plugins by Boris FX, which are super popular, although they are pretty expensive. And then you have the more niche individual made plugins that I myself and people like me produce. For example, I've made an animation extension window for After Effects, I've made tons of transition packs and effects packs for Adobe Premiere, and recently I've even made a music video plugin for Blender full of useful templates and effects. So yeah, I plugged my stuff to you, but it really doesn't matter. It's all up to what you specifically are looking for. You can find tons of useful assets, plugins, and presets made available by various different content creators if you just search for them. Number seven is Adobe Premiere versus DaVinci Resolve, the great debate. To make a music video, you need a video editing program to sequence clips, balance and sync the audio, and then add color in post. There's been this big debate over the past few years about whether you should use DaVinci Resolve or Adobe Premiere. What you choose is all up to you. The basic version of Resolve is free. It's more reliable than Adobe Premiere. It has a great node-based workflow for color grading, whereas Premiere has the dynamic links with Photoshop and After Effects, which together make a powerful workflow for video creation. I've tried both and I've always personally preferred Premiere. Yes, it can crash sometimes, but at this point I've used it so much, I feel like I'm fluent with the software. Plus I have a ton of video presets, which make my editing process very smooth and fast. Number 8 is stock footage sites. Having a library of stock assets and texture clips is super important when it comes to making your video. For VFX stock, I recommend Footage Crate, where you can find explosions, dust, fire, and much more. For miscellaneous stock, I recommend Pexels.com. For sound effects, I recommend freesound.org. And for high quality textures and overlay clips, I recommend you search specific creators who produce those independently, or alternatively, you can always find some free green screen stock clips or other freebies across the internet. Number 9 is Unreal Engine. A lot of people shy away from Unreal Engine because they're uninterested in learning 3D. But what a lot of people don't know is how useful Unreal Engine is to videographers and video production as a whole. You can run real-time, super realistic environments in Unreal Engine to create stunning sets for your music videos. You can also rig your camera up as a controller in Unreal Engine to control each and every movement that happens in the engine. There's some great tutorials by Film Riot showing you how to use Unreal Engine in a film or music video context. Those are definitely worth watching if you're interested in getting into this. Additionally, maybe you don't have your own footage or you're not a videographer. With Unreal Engine, you can create your own cinematic renders to fit your music video all for free on your home computer. Number 10 is Daz. I've always been intrigued by 3D characters, and from my experience, Daz is by far the best free software you can use to help generate them. You have tons of free assets, you have bridges to different 3D softwares like C4D or Blender, you have a marketplace full of props, characters, outfits, and different plugin integrations for things like adding in your own face or even adding facial mocap performances. If you want to try and make a 3D music video that features 3D characters, I think that Daz is a must-have. Also, honorable mention here, iClone and the character creator software by Reallusion are great 3D tools for animation as well. The only downside is they are more expensive, but if you have the budget, definitely check those out. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 most useful softwares and tools for making music videos. Like I said, some are very niche, while some of them are must-haves. So hopefully you guys learned about something that you didn't know about before that can help you in the long run. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting, and I'll see you guys in the next one.